Do you have any questions, anybody?
Is there a correlation between ADHD and gifted and talented or high achieving? And how can you, I guess diagnose it or treat it or whatever?
You know, there is something interesting. It could be just a bias done by pure coincidence. But that happened with those gifted kids. A lot of them appear to have ADHD. It's because they're so gifted and some of them are not performing well. They generate the care, either by the parents, the attentive teachers, so they end up being evaluated. While other kids, they already have this concept that I'm not that smart. Sometimes they don't look for help, or kids or young adults. That could be, that's my take on that. It seems.
They are performing well,
Oh, if they performing well, then.
have some of the other characteristics.
Good question, very good. And I see a lot of that. I'm doing great, doctor. My grades or my work is good, but I can't stand my wife, or I can't stand this and that, or my boss, or I can do this and that, and then you start analyzing. And then you bring the partner, or if it is a young teenager, you bring the parents. They're unbearable at home. They always do it. Remember, they pay attention to something and go to something else. And they do great in school. These people are very smart. I'm going to give you one example. They're worth 1,000 words. I did this teenager kid, and he did very well. We did the test. He did great. The mother always came, and the father is okay. Father is an engineer. Oh, he's okay with the treatment. One day, the father came. I said, oh man, something is wrong. When you see the father, you think something is wrong. It's a big, heavy, stocky guy. He said, you know, doctor, I want you to me what you did to my son. I want to be tested. It turned out that his IQ was 150. The man was a monster, one of those gifted. And he said he was a computer engineer, that he couldn't work with people. That's how irritated and touchy and argumentative. So he went to work to the company all night and drank a lot of caffeine all night. By the time that people came in at 8 o'clock, he had drank 2 pots of coffee. And then he said, I can do my work. And then they let me go home. So I did the test. Obviously, the 150 IQ, he was super, super low. I treated him, and then no more coffee. He promised me that in order to treat him. And he went to work regularly. He quit the company, opened his own company. By the time I left California, he went global in his company. He was a small business owner. So that was a gifted that it did apparently well. But when you dig a little deeper, his life really was discombobulated. He was full of dysfunctional coping skills. The swimming pool of caffeine, working in the evening, etc. So.
Can you touch on the subject of the small subpopulation that is activated by the stimulants?
Activated in what way?
Meaning that they may appear psychotic, have a
Yes.
significant increase?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a little one of those, that's a little bit of the balancing act that sometimes we have to do. The belief was forever, and still is in the general mainstream medicine, that a stimulant will give you psychosis. So have I seen it? Yeah. I'll give you one example, worth 1,000 words. This nurse, she was very intelligent, but she could never progress in the hospital, in the psych hospital where I did inpatient. So I invited her to be my patient. I said, you are ADD, your eyes always like that. Looking at me, you never looking at me. You a very smart lady. She was about 40, 45. I did the test, definitely. I gave that then was Adderall plain, before Vyvanse. She did great. So great, she became a chief of a nurse in another hospital. So there was a success story, end of the story, right? Happy end in Hollywood. Not quite. I moved out of California. She called me with a very exquisite paranoia. She started feeling that the FBI was after her, that the director of the hospital had a mafia group. Totally psychotic. She ended up in Risperdal. So I begged her, please, I think I did something for you. Stop the Adderall. But now she said, my life is better with it. So there was a balancing act with a doctor that she had, and in the end, she ended up with both. And that leads me to another part of my answer to you. New studies have shown, even in schizophrenics, that they already have psychosis. Denying them from the Vyvanse if they have ADHD, diminish the quality of life. And the reality is, well, what if they get psychotic? Well, that's a risk. So it's a very delicate situation where you need to go side by side. If you ask me, in some patients that I have bipolar 1, they can go woof in the cloud. I try not to give it. And as much as I try not to, once they get it better with the, lithium or the Abilify, Cyprexa, one day I know they're going to look at me in the eye and say, doctor, please give me my Vance again. And then what I do, I call it my safety net. Since they're already well, I put a little pinch in it. So what can I tell you? I mean, it's so amazing. Look at that story on the schizophrenic was recent, and it's incredible. But in general, you need to be careful because, yes, you have that. Especially also people that are not that ADHD. And you give them, start taking it illegally from a friend or go to a doctor, they talk 5 minutes, give you the pill, that's not good. So, any other question? The lady over here.
Two questions. One is, do you see children that have this Medicaid? And my other is, what do you tell parents if things are doing well when they take their children off medication for summer while they're not in school?
What do you tell the parents about?
You know, some parents will want to take their children off medication during school breaks and in summer.
What do I tell them? No. I encourage that.
Oh, okay.
And the only time that I said not to do it is if the kid has also, remember the low tolerance for frustration when they get very irritated with my traffic jam, then take him away from that, you're going to ruin the summer for him and the entire family. So I said, don't do it. But for the majority, that they're doing it because to study better, maybe pay attention a little more. If it's not a big deal, give them a break. Just tell them that. I said they eat more, which is another balancing act. I always give them milk 3 times a day. I always encourage her to do double milk, put powdered milk in milk, so you get a heavy-duty milk, multivitamins for the kids all the time. Stuff them in the morning before they give them the medication, and give them a good dinner. Something we don't want to do ourselves. We gain weight like that. But the kids, you know, the afternoon, they're going to murder the lunch. So if they don't have any of the other 2 dinners somewhere, then they're going to start losing weight. That's what I measure them. We're doing a study now on depression in teenagers, and the medical monitor, they from Duke University, they Pfizer through Duke. And he was talking to me, and I said, why don't you want kids in the study for attention deficit? I got a ton of them. They have attention deficit and depression. Let's put them in the study. He said, no, because they don't grow. I said, what do you mean they don't grow? My kids grow. I do in my medical record, I got the chart, the measure. They got to grow. I don't do that. So you cannot focus only in attention deficit. You need to focus in everything. How they eating, how they growing. Sometimes I have cut medication. I put some parents in a timeout. I say, you know what? Until it grows again. But the school, but look at that. 3 visits every 3 months is 9 months. Not a pound of increase, not an inch growth can do that. I know, sadly, you see a lot of kids taking medication, they don't grow, because the dopamine cut the appetite. That's why phentermine, Adipex, the ladies like to take it to cut the appetite and lose weight. So it's a balancing act. So back to your question, I always encourage them, if there's no disciplinary issues, to take a break Saturday and Sunday and every holiday and vacation. The less, the better. Oh, Medicaid, I used to. I felt a patriot. I mean, I tried to say, I want to do it, but there was a point I couldn't do it anymore. They are abusing us to a point that I couldn't. I literally gave up. So what I did is I cut my prices, which my prices I kept it, not going to do any plug on that, but I kept it lower than the competition in San Antonio in general. But for the Medicaid, I lowered it even more. So to give me a break, and with that I kept more than 70% or more of my patients because I don't see them that often. All this every month is not needed. When they're doing well, I see them maybe sometime twice a year, 3 times. So that's how I kept serving the Medicaid population. I have a lot of patients coming from Uvalde, the Medicaid. And
we do have Dr. De LLanos' information on one of the tables outside. I encourage you to take that information.
Yeah, well, that's it. If they like to.
Anyone else have any more questions?
The lady over here.
Thank you, Dr. De LLanos.
Oh, lady had a question.
You mentioned right now, well, somebody back there mentioned that, what you said, the food. I have seen or I have heard a lot of parents thinking that just managing the type of food that the kids eat will modify, their behavior and their issues, mostly with hyperactivity. Mom says, oh no, only give her, sugary stuff, or I don't give her sugary stuff at all.
Or food colorants too.
Right.
Yeah, take that.
Like the naturalistic approach to it. I don't think that you are fighting with it, because you just mentioned, for example, like milk and other, foods may be good for the kids and will help. However, do you think that it is very mild, and, a different diet will help?
They have tried to study that, and until now, nothing had come up. With the same thing with the autism, the vaccines and this and that. And this is what I tell the parents, common sense cannot learn it in medical school. I tell them, give them a nice diet. I mean, get away all the chemicals and all this stuff. And it's a good thing, the supplements, get the supplements, let them eat well so they grow, and take away the junk food. That's bad for everybody. Maybe a lot of those high amount of sugar in the blood is not good anyway, because your pancreas is not that big, and you need to digest. That's why diabetes is rampant in our population, So so I tell them that, but nothing that definitely has been found. But one to a case, like I told you, a case always, I had parents, I got this couple, young couple, it was in California, they moved into the California, y entonces they gone home that. And the kid, there was a little girl, it was mild. And they did it. They said, I don't want medication, I want to have super duper, and everything they found, they gave him. And I think that girl was living like in a little glass bubble. And she got better for the time that I knew them, and before I came to San Antonio. Maybe later on the whole thing break loose and the reality hit. But at least for the time being, they did it. They said they did it. But when you're trying to duplicate that in studies, you don't find them, that the food directly make an influence, But it's important to eat well anyway, that for the kids.
Real quick, you mentioned some like vitamins and minerals and things like that. Is that a place to start with some versus medication, or is that?
Good question. I should have said that. Very good. So the thing is, yes, I do that all the time, especially parents that are very, guarded, and I imagine that they have no idea, but they hear the internet, read what the internet said that stimulant can do for you. I laugh when I read that. So I tell them to begin with these two, and then if they're comfortable, this is the same thing. It's just regular. This is better, contain the PS for fatidylserine, and then move into dimethylaminoethanol. The AME was a medication by prescription in the 70s. It's also from fish. So all of that fuel the surface of the nerves so they can communicate better. And then if they still want to go into that approach, I said, give them all. End up, if it's okay in the morning, give them all and see, especially mild cases. I mean, my work, I have some that tick-tack along, okay, like that. Sometimes I see them a year later. I say, well, we want medication now. So yes, I do that. And that's absolutely. And also taking away, usually young adult, caffeine, improve them right away. But I told you it's the double-edged knife. So once you're out of that, and alcohol, then plus things like this, they do better. They do a little better.
Okay, so if anybody has not much, we will